doing? Good. Enjoying ClioCon so far, I hope. Welcome to our session today. As you heard from Jenny, we're talking streamlining accounting. I'm going to try and do it in 15 minutes, but there is a lot to this topic, so bear with me as I move a little quickly and skip over a couple of other things that you can hopefully talk to us later on in the product lab about. I would like to thank our visionary partners for their support today. My name is Megan Archibald. I'm the product marketing manager for some of Clio's financial performance products. Essentially what that means is I help bring new products and features to market to help you improve your workflows and really use the product a little bit more and a little bit better as much as we can do. Now, today's session, we're going to touch on streamlining accounting, starting from the very bottom, our foundation, what your setup looks like. From there, we'll dive into the 3 natural stages of accounting, and that's bringing money in, ushering money out of those accounts, and reporting on all of that with efficiency. And then we'll take it on home with a recap of all of our best practices. So, by show of hands, how many of you drive? Oh, okay. I would say that's like a solid 95% of you. So, of those who drive, when's the last time you took your car in for an oil change? I see some smiles, some humming, hawing. Okay, if you're anything like me, it is incredibly easy to miss one appointment. Miss too many of those, though, and your engine's liable to overheat or seize up, costing you exponentially more in bills, not to mention the added headache. Now, regular maintenance on your car is actually a lot like those routine accounting tasks. They take just a little bit of time every now and again, and that keeps your car on the road and your law firm running smoothly. Now, accounting is one of the most important things at your law firm because everything nearly is tied to it. Ultimately, the benefits of streamlining your accounting come down to being more efficient and more accurate. Now, from there, you're going to have a better understanding of how your law firm operates, and that'll grant you the secondary benefits of being able to grow in whatever way growth means to you as a firm. Maybe that's taking on more cases or adding more employees to the team or even spending time at home with the family. Now, to start out, generally most firms will have 2 types of accounts, your operating account and your trust account. I would love for you all to bear with me here and think of these 2 accounts as your law firm's vehicles. Now, most firms will have just one of each. Not only is it a little bit more simple, but it's actually more affordable. Now, in your operating account, we're seeing basically revenue coming in from the work you've already done and what you're billing clients for. We're also seeing the payment of those day-to-day expenses that could be both legal in nature or for the business. These are things like payroll, rent, etc. And we're also seeing the fees for any unearned client funds that you're taking into trust being deducted from. Those fees never come out of trust. Now, speaking of our trust account, that is where you take in those unearned client funds. This is also where you're going to disperse, transfer, and refund any client payments that were previously made into trust after maybe a settlement gets awarded or if there's any money left over at the end of a case. What you'll see in both of these accounts is that money's coming in, money's going out, and somehow, some way, we need to report on all of that activity with efficiency. Now, before we go through the best practices on those 3 stages, we're actually going to start at the foundation and talk about your accounting setup because that's where it all begins. Integrating your Clio Manage account with a best-in-class accounting solution like QuickBooks Online really allows you to save time and headaches that can come with context switching between disparate platforms. It also helps you avoid mistakes that can be made when you're manually entering data in multiple places. And it also gives you greater visibility and the ability to comply with your jurisdictional requirements. Now, with an integration, you're actually getting the best of both worlds working together as one. And while Clio has several accounting integrations, for today, we're going to focus on this one right here. Now, all of these arrows that you see beside me actually represent manual tasks that take a lot of time, but they don't have to. With an integration, automated syncs help bring information over from one location to the other. So we see here our contacts, our bills and payments, and our trust transactions sync from Clio to QuickBooks Online, whereas our hard costs go the other way. They originate in QBO. Now, you'll notice that the contacts have a different color arrow, and that's actually because it is technically bidirectional, but we do recommend they originate in Clio Manage. Now that we've got our foundation set with a solid accounting integration, let's talk about the money in process. Now, we want to remove that duplicative manual work that's already done from the integration. So what else can we do? How can we improve money in? Well, we can improve our cash flow and we can boost that collection rate. So when you are talking about bringing money into your accounts, we're going to separate our two accounts or law firm vehicles. And we'll first talk about our operating account. So bringing money into your operating account actually means that you've done the work, right? And it's time to get paid. And there are two main routine maintenance tasks I'd love for you to consider adding into the mix to help boost that cash flow and that collection rate. When you request and save client payment information right at intake, what you're actually doing is enabling a more seamless collection process down the line. You're taking in that information, it takes just a couple of minutes right at the start, and that's going to pay in dividends when you're not waiting around for a month or more when the bill is due. This is also easy to do at any point during a case. You don't have to wait till the end. You can also create regular bill installments on a schedule that works for both you and your clients, namely payment plans. Now, this is no extra work for you because remember, our bills and payments sync from Clio Manage over to QuickBooks Online. So that's pretty automated. Despite multiple installments now instead of one lump sum, it's really meaning the difference between an unpaid bill at the end of the month or the year and a client being able to afford your services. And bonus, this opens up an opportunity with more prospective clients who can now afford to see you. So when we talk about our other vehicle now of bringing money into trust, we have a couple of ways of doing that. But essentially, depending on your firm's dynamics, you as a legal professional may not always be the person handling every part of the tasks related to trust. So it is important that you supervise the individuals who are to maintain compliance. Being fee-forward or guaranteeing funds before the work begins is actually a really great way to ensure cash flow and make sure that you're not left with those unpaid bills. But it does come with a couple extra things related to compliance that we have to be mindful of. Trust accounting is a bit of a backwards process when you think about it, right? Because you're taking funds in before you've done the work as opposed to typical bill collection. And you're taking them in as liabilities, which is different from any other accounting in the world. That can be tricky if you're trying to do it all yourself and not allowing a legal-specific platform to help you. Now, what you can do is actually send a trust request from Clio right at the start of the engagement using either a click-to-pay link or QR code. This way, a client can load in their information in seconds and you're all squared away with your funds. This is only possible or only recommended rather with a legal specific payment processor because remember, we keep earned and unearned fees separate and those fees are always coming out from operating. You can also set up a minimum level of funds that you'd like to hold for that matter, otherwise known as evergreen trust. You can set the limit, get notified when that amount drops below, and then prompt another payment to top things up, just as easy as a couple of clicks. You no longer need to wait on that payment, and this ensures consistent cash flow. Now, it's important that you maintain compliance in all the jurisdictions in which you operate or are licensed to practice in. So do take the time to review those requirements and make sure you're all squared away. So now we've streamlined the way you take in funds by speeding up and automating cash flow. But what about when you use those funds? I'd like to talk specifically about money coming out of trust. And I know we have a couple of questions here, so bear with me and I'll speak to that in a couple moments. Now, these transactions can look like a couple of things. They can look like matter-to-matter trust transfers, disbursements, or trust refunds. And when you're using the QuickBooks Online integration, we know that trust transactions originate in Clio, right? And move over to QuickBooks Online. The one-way sync automatically brings your transaction from Clio Manage over to QuickBooks Online as a journal entry, and typically in the trust liabilities account. And when you issue a refund to clients, all you'll have to do is jump into Clio Manage, find the Online Payments tab on the left, and then you'll look for the transaction that you'd like to reissue a refund for. Now, you can reissue this refund in just a couple of clicks. You no longer need to write a check, drop it in the mail, and wait for that client to deposit it when it suits them. This can be done at any time with no expiry period if you're talking about refunding a card, which is amazing news for some of you who have longer case durations in, say, immigration law or civil litigation. Now that we've talked about money in and money out, there's a lot happening, so we have to figure out how we're reporting on all of this with efficiency, right? So reporting is one of those critical vehicle maintenance tasks, and it's an important step to keeping your law firm running smoothly. These regularly scheduled maintenance sessions actually enable you to spot these financial insights, implement changes, and measure progress as they're happening or pretty soon after. You're not waiting and finding out these hiccups a long time down the line. Only when you've kept up a regular maintenance schedule will you really be able to see that value. And so what I've done here is I've gotten a short list together for you of reports that every law firm should be using or have access to regularly. Now, of course, this is not an exhaustive list, but we want to get you started on the right foot. Now, despite your involvement with financial insights at your firm, you may not necessarily be in all of these reports yourself, but it is a good list to have on hand. You'll see those in purple are the ones found in Clio Manage. These are the more legal specific elements that you'll need to see reporting on. And then those in QuickBooks are a lot more, general for more businesses, such as anything you might need to consult, despite if you're a law firm or otherwise. However, knowing which report to consult is actually only half the battle. We have to build these into our regular routine, right? So make it easy to access. There are actually tools in your Clio Manage account today that help you do that. And one of the ways you can be a lot more efficient is by using reporting presets. That allows you to set the criteria of certain reports that you'd like to access and add it onto the front page of the Reports tab so that every time you access that information, you don't need to reset the report. You also have the ability to schedule reports so that those insights are served proactively to you. Consider utilizing the ability to customize report columns based on the information that you'd like to see. You can hide or unhide columns, and that way you're spending time only looking at what you need and not at anything that you don't. Finally, trust reconciliation, which is a requirement for those of you in the crowd who work with trust. Now, this allows you to essentially compare your trust transactions with your bank account statement. This gives you the confidence to understand what's happening in your accounts and to see how it matches up with what's in the bank. And while every jurisdiction has a different requirement with regards to the cadence on reporting and what you need to submit, this will give you the confidence to move ahead and collect in trust very easily. Alrighty, so it's time to recap our session. I know I threw a lot at you here, but if you haven't written anything down, open up those notebooks, click on the pen, and let's get ready to dive in. You're going to want to integrate your accounting solution to Clio Manage, but take a little extra care in making sure it's set up properly. This will ensure that information flows in the way that it's meant to, and you can save time, you can operate efficiently, and you can avoid those mistakes with manual data entry. You're also going to want to take a look at a few small routine maintenance tasks along every stage of our 3 natural accounting stages, and together they'll all build towards significant improvements in streamlining your process. For money in, see payment sooner. We showed you how to collect client payment information right at intake, as well as implement some payment plans. For money out, ensure that you're using the trust sync so that information is accurate in both locations. And for reporting, you've got a ton of features available to you to make reporting easy as long as you keep up that routine. And speaking of routine, schedule and do your reporting regularly. You want to keep this consistent, and you can use features such as reporting presets, the ability to customize columns, and schedule reports to do it with ease. As we come to the end of our session, I implore you to keep up with those oil changes, both for your car and for your law firm. Stay on top of those regular maintenance tasks because you don't want to be in tax season when your accountant is asking for a bunch of documents that you just haven't kept up to date with. You also don't want to be flagged for non-compliance. And the best part is you can do all that using Clio and its integrations. If you have any questions, our team over in the product lab would be happy to help you out for any of the features we talked about. And if you'd like a hand setting anything up, I suggest you hop on over to the Success Center and try and nab any last appointments. Or you can call our world-class support team 24/5. My name is Megan. Thank you very much. Have a great day.